What's going on, you guys? AJ Tucker with AJ Self Defense, and I want to go back to the topic of domestic abuse against men. I saw a crazy stat today, and I was researching, trying to double check, and I could not refute it. But there are over 2,000 shelters for women who have been physically abused or a victim of domestic abuse. And guess how many there are for men? One. There is one place in Texas. It's called the Family Place. Now, I was searching online, and if you know of any others in any other places, make sure you let me know. But I only found one legit domestic abuse center for males where they can go and get the treatment and protection that they need. So the reason why this is, now here's the thing, I am all for women's rights. I've been doing self-defense since 2006, and it's mainly been focused on women. But I'm coming to find out more and more that there's lots of violence that goes on against men. And so, I say this because, men are hurting out there. If you look at the suicide rates, 75% are men. I believe women attempt more, but men are getting the job done more in that regard. But when it comes to domestic abuse, 1 in 4 women are abused, and 1 in 9 men are reported abused. Now, it's mental and physical abuse. And so this place in Texas, the Family Place, let me check to make sure that's the right name over here. I don't want to be giving you guys the wrong name. So this place, they opened up the doors. They opened up the doors in 2017. And the reason why is because there were so many men calling the hotline for abuse, and these nonprofit organizations, they were putting these guys up in hotels, and the cost was becoming straight prohibitive. And so they're like, you know what, let's make a shelter for men that are abused. And there's one out there versus 2,000 for women. So hopefully there's more out there than that. I'm positive there's programs out there for men. You can call the hotline. I'm going to read off this number and I'll put it up on the screen if I can. 214-941-1991. That is a 24-hour hotline if you're a victim of domestic abuse, whether you're male or female. And if you're a male, they will get you in the right place. I was reading a story when they was talking about the Family Place. There's one guy, he was in a situation where he was being abused by his wife mentally and physically, and he got to the point to where he had to call the police multiple times for them to take him seriously. He got to the point to where he had to barricade himself so he wouldn't be physically abused. So it happens the other way around. When I was, in my early 20s, one of my, I'm not going to put too much out there, but one of my good friends, one of my close friends, he was a victim of domestic abuse. I didn't really know, but he got a tooth knocked out, and I didn't really know that it was domestic abuse because I was a young man at the time. It wasn't as much information out there about it, but we were just tripping on how when the police came, because there was a call about domestic abuse, he's the one that called the police. He's the one that got taken in, and this was back in the early 2000s, and it's because he was the man. And so I am all for women's right. If you know me, I do self-defense mainly for women, and we do simulated attacks. And I've been taking bumps and bruises for over 16 years, almost 17 years now. And I would say 98% of my classes are for 100% women. So I've taken the deep dive. I've gone to women's shelters. I've volunteered. I've done self-defense classes at places like that. I've never done one at an all-male place. I have done self-defense for men, and I have done self-defense for men who have been abused, but it's mainly have been men who were the victims of bullying, or it's been men who were in the LGBT community and they were being abused by their man. I have been in those scenarios, but just the common man. Because here's the thing: where are they at? Where do you find them? These men are suffering in silence because who are they going to talk to? Who are they going to tell? And as a man, I know this as well, that we pretty much suffer in silence. Like, we just try to get it done. Men don't cry, men don't kick and scream, and that's how we move forward. And so if you are a victim of mental abuse or physical abuse, well, physical abuse, you kind of know, like you kind of get it. But when it comes to mental abuse, sometimes you have no idea. You just think that, she's just being mean, or she's just doing it, it's whatever. But deep down inside, it does affect you, even if you not realizing it on a conscious level. But back to what I was talking about, man, there are Over 2,000. Now, if you add in if you lump in Canada, okay, Canada and the United States, you have 3,000. You have 3,000 different programs, different centers all across America and Canada for women's domestic violence, somewhere they can take it in. And you have one for men. Now, here's the thing. I saw the stat. I tried to research it. I tried to look for different places. And mainly it just led us to the hotline. Mainly it just it was a college, talking about domestic violence against men and just giving the stats. It didn't really tell me about a safe house that men can go to besides that one that was in Texas. By 2004, there was 1,980 shelters for women, which is a good thing. Now, here's the thing. That's how I got, started in the self-defense. That's where I built a passion for it. When I was 5 years old, my mom, she was in a domestic abuse situation, and we had to go all the way from Virginia to Texas, and we basically hid out. And we didn't go to a shelter, but luckily we were able to stay with my aunt and uncle, and they kind of like held us down for a little bit until my mom was able to get on her feet, and we basically started from scratch in Texas. And so I know about it, and I've been studying for years, actually decades, when it comes to the side for women. But it has definitely been a learning process and an eye-opening process when I look at this in regards to men, how some men are treated out there. And it's reported that it's 1 in 9 men that are victims of abuse. And it's not normal. It's very, men feel a lot of shame when it comes to this. They're embarrassed. And oftentimes, if they do try to report it, initially, nobody believes them, even the police. Because the thing is, if you're a police officer, you are filled with, a lot of empathy, and you do want to help people. But then you also have a toughness about you. You have a toughness about you, and you're around other men who are tough, like mentally and physically tough. You got to train. You got to be prepared. And so when you come upon a situation, unless you've had prior training, unless you've read into it, unless you've been educated about it, it's really hard to understand when the man say, hey, she's beating on me, she's hitting me, especially if the man is bigger than the woman. You come upon that case and you're like, what the heck is this? But I think the information is out there. I think more information is out there where if the officers do come upon the scene, they have a certain protocol that they have to follow. I'm going to have to take a deeper dive into that myself, but it's very underreported for those reasons. Hey, if a girl tries to hit you, man, just take the hit. She can't really do. There's some strong girls out there, man. I hold the focus mitts where I let women box. And I'm telling you, if they're like an ex-volleyball player or basketball player, those girls be bringing the thunder. And some girls, they are just born with knockout concussive power. So there's women out there that can hurt you. Especially if you're a man and you grew up and you didn't really grow up like roughhousing and stuff, or if you have a strong sense of justice, if you have a strong sense of chivalry, where your parents taught you no matter what, you don't hit a woman, and you're in a situation where the woman is hitting on you and you're just letting her do it. I remember this was way back in the day, long ago when I was in middle school. A buddy of mine, I'm not gonna put his name out there, but I saw a buddy of mine where a girl was trying to get up in his face and fight him. And there's a lot of guys at that school that I went to, Barnett Junior High, that if a girl jumped in their face and tried to hit him, they would probably swing on him. But this guy, he was cut from a different cloth. He was like, I am not going to hit a girl. She was jumping in his face, and he tried to push her back and get that distance. And then she ended up hitting him, and he just stood there and took the hit. And then other girls jumped in, and he just kind of curled up. And, they took off their belts, and they was trying to hit him with belts. And then, eventually I intervened because I was like, man, guys were, starting to jump in and try to get kicks in. And it was just a crazy situation where chivalry, he took the chivalry too far. At what point as a man do you hit back? What do you feel like? Me personally, I've trained, for years and years, and my main art is jujitsu, so I'm very confident that if a woman was to attack me, I could detain her without striking her back, without choking her, maybe a vale tudo mount or some type of position where I can just hold her and keep her from doing damage to me. But what if you don't know that kind of stuff? What if you have no training? You go from 0 to 100. You either have the choice of taking a beating, or you have that choice of just striking a woman down, which seems like you're using too much force. So crazy situation, man. I just want to continue to bring that awareness out there. I do talk about a lot of topics, but I always like to circle back and talk about this. That's all I got right now, folks. If you have any stories about domestic abuse, you can share them on here if you feel comfortable with that. But also, I'm on YouTube, man. I'm trying to grow this thing. I have a goal of 1,000. Right now I'm at like 174. I appreciate that 174, and I'm grinding on here trying to put the information out, trying to get to 1,000. I'm gonna continue to put that on, put the info and content out, and just cover a wide range. I don't really show like a lot of moves on this channel, but I just wanted to cover a lot of different topics where we can get into danger and find ourselves in a situation, and hopefully this can help somebody. That's all I got right now, man. I'll see you next time.